We should be going live in a minute. Hopefully,
I
you'll
can
say
see
we're
the
streaming
live
live. Yeah, so I think we are. It takes ages for Zoom to actually say yes, definitely we're live. I think we are. That's why I always talk to myself for ages to get on side here. So whilst I'm faffing around trying to open up Facebook to make sure we are live, which I'm sure we are, can everyone just say a quick hello in the chat box or the comments and just say hi? Everyone's having a good day. Where are we? I know we're in here somewhere. I can see us popping up. Oh, there we go. There we go. We're here. So turn the volume down. Joseph's here. Awesome. Hey, Joseph.
Hello, Joseph.
Happy days. So I'm just going to give everyone a couple of minutes, well, maybe a couple of seconds, actually, just to turn up. We've got 5 in at the moment, which is pretty good for a few seconds. So today, just while we're waiting, we're doing something a little bit different. Normally when we do these lives, we tend to chat with either like, business mentors or coaches that kind of coach other coaches to do certain things. But what we want to kind of do this time was maybe chat with an actual coach. So this is Alex, and he's going to introduce himself in a second, a bit more detail. But Alex is a PTD user, he's an online coach, and he's taken his business from literally zero, doing nothing online, right through to 7 figures. And I think you just mentioned there, this month you're already on course for 120,000 this month. I think you said it was already, which is not, which is cool. So we want to talk about, Babs is saying, who's that hottie you got on this week?
You might make an appearance later, guy. Play your cards right.
Awesome, yeah. Should get yourself on camera, Babs.
I thought you blocked her, Ash. I tried to block her last week and I still can't. That's my fiance, guys, for anyone who's wondering what the private joke is here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so anyone that watched last week, we had Babs on. So that's Alex's fiance. So yeah, in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, so we're going to chat to Alex about that. We're going to talk a bit about kind of his story, kind of his background, what he kind of went through first. Way, hi. Yeah, it's like a stage like you're supposed to be there.
I crashed hers last week.
Yeah, you crashed. Yeah, definitely crash each other's lives on each one. So yeah, we're going to talk a bit about Alex's background, kind of what he's been up to, and how we've kind of taken his business from when he first started online with nothing right the way through to what it's doing now, which is a 7-figure online business, and how he managed to do that in less than a year. So talk about that experience. We also want to talk a bit about kind of what that's actually like. We talk so much about how to kind of do it sometimes, but we never really talk about how your life changes with that. So not necessarily about the things you can do with it, but like what actually happens in your business. Are you still a trainer? Are you still coaching people, or do things change? So we're going to talk a bit about that as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We've got quite a few people at the moment, which is cool. So I think we'll get started. So first of all, Alex, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about what you currently do now?
Grand. So in terms of like running my business now, is that what you mean? Or you mean in terms of where I started from?
Just now. So like currently, like your business now, what is it you actually currently do now this second? So like who are you and what you do?
Okay, I'm Alex. I'm a sport dietitian, and I run an online business based around nutrition, behavior change, and personal training. My mission is to help 1 million people live longer and feel less self-conscious in how they look. And I'm all about trying to find a way of give back. And I'm a big believer, if you are genuinely good to people, they'll be good to you. And that works in every respect, from mentors to people that I help. I'm specializing now in people who want to lose weight. I used to focus on athletes. However, I found that I get greater reward for helping someone, being able to play with their grandkids, than someone knock half second off a lap. You know what I mean? Yeah. In the big picture of things, you know what I mean? Like, there's not really a competition there. Like, I had a woman last week who was able to conceive for the first time, and not saying I had a hand to play in that, but I mean, I was able to help her lose weight, so she was able to conceive. But it's that big picture is what I feel is really powerful. And if you've got a strong enough why, you've got a reason to get up every morning. You've got a reason to put in 80, 90-hour weeks. And I'm not saying I do that now, but there was a long period of time where I was doing them kind of hours.
Oh, cool. Awesome. I think you kind of like a little bit you touched on there about the hours and stuff that you put in when you first get started doing this. It's a bit crazy sometimes. I think the hours you do have to put in and the work you have to put in sometimes to these kind of businesses, but hopefully if you keep doing it, it pays off, which obviously it's doing for you. So can we talk a bit about your backstory and kind of how this whole thing started? So like, let's go way back, like way back, because obviously we've chatted before. I know you kind of started as a PT around 4 years ago, but what happened? How did you get into this role? Like, what Why did you decide to become a PT? What was you doing before that?
Got yeah. So well, first degree was in sport and exercise science. Then I wanted to be a dietitian. Never got in the first time round. Did an MSc in public health and nutrition to try and get in. And then I followed the usual, take whatever job you can get. You should be lucky to get a job. And I went down to England to work as a dietitian in the NHS. I struggled in terms of the fact I didn't enjoy working in the hospital. And I was sick of being told to stick to the rules, and I'm not good at sticking to any rules. So I decided to just sack it all in, and I quit a permanent job in the NHS. Everyone thought I was mad. I think I broke up with a girlfriend, shaved my head, and quit a permanent job in the space of 7 days. So it was a bit of a whirlwind. So I got a one-way ticket to Canada, spent 18 months there telling myself I was becoming a dietitian over there, lying to myself really. I was working in a bar and was barely making ends meet. Like, there was 3 of us in a 2-bedroom flat, and we were living on tips. And then I decided to fly back to Edinburgh. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to go back. Before I go, I'm going to train to become a string to my bow in terms of being a personal trainer. And when I arrived back, I was skint, so I had to stay on a mattress on my mate's floor for 5 months to try and start a business. I had zero money. I mean, literally zero. I was paying him £100 a month in rent to borrow £1,000 just to kind of get by with food. Yeah. And then I started setting small goals as a PT of like getting 9 email addresses per shift in Pure Gym. That's where I started off. And that turned into a pretty successful one-to-one business pretty quickly. And I quickly kind of capped off at about 8 months, increasing my prices pretty drastically because I could get people results quite quickly. I specialized in the transformation model because it gave me some great social proof. I started employing some PTs to be able to subcontract some sessions so I could have a degree of passive income as well. And then I invested in a mentor. Not a very good one, but I'm not going to name names, but I had this big launch date of when the online business was going to go mad, and it didn't really blow up. And I spent 7 or 8 months trying to tell myself I was going to be an online trainer when my one-to-one business was thriving and it was just failing drastically. And then 3 months in, I had the beauty of meeting yours truly. And I joined PTD before Christmas 2018. I think it was like December 2018. Yeah, and you're talking to a guy now who never opened a computer until he was 18. Like, so, I mean, people who say you need to have computer skills for an online business, I don't believe it. So Ash, fair play to him, held both of my hands and patted me on the back as I tried to get used to technology. And he was extremely, extremely patient with me. And this is a really important note. So I invested straight away into Ash, into his PT Ninja course. And I noticed that there was like these group calls that Ash was doing. And when you invest into a mentor or whoever it is, you want to make sure that you, this sounds really bad, Ash, you squeeze them for every drop of knowledge that they have, which is what I did with Ash. I mean, every call I was on it. I was literally taking everything I could from him, because if not, I'm doing myself a disservice. And then following that, I suppose I decided to take a chance and pull back on my one-to-one PT business. I say pull back. I actually handed my notice in. I ripped off the Band-Aid quickly, and I still wasn't financially in a position to hand my notice in. So I was kind of like burning. Remember that I told you? Yeah. I was burning the boats before I had anything figured out. And I remember telling you, and I had my Pure Gym outfit on, and I was like, I've quit, I've left one-to-one. And had to figure out how to do it. And then I made some big drastic changes in my online business. The big one was I went high ticket. I started really valuing myself, increasing my prices to like 300, 400, 500 a month. And then as soon as I hit that and increased my prices by like 4-fold, overnight, I had the means of being able to build a 10K a month business. And moving forward from that, I went on to try and find a way of having a regular funnel of leads coming in with Facebook ads. And then once it started to get results, it started to kind of snowball. But by far, the hardest thing was going from 0 to 10K. That was like, oh my God, very challenging. Anyway, it's a big spiel of information, so I'll stop there in case I'm overwhelming people.
No, it's good. That was really cool to hear, actually. Like, I think a lot of people get stuck around this 10K mark. But I do think it's a hard slog to get to that amount, to hit the kind of 10K a month as an online trainer. I do think it's a hard slog, because normally in a position where you kind of, you kind of need to invest in other stuff, you kind of need other things to try and help you push yourself past that mark, but you're maybe not quite financially ready yet, or maybe, from a mindset point of view, you're maybe not quite ready yet to actually make that investment or to make that jump. I think to keep it consistently, that's what I found anyway personally when I kind of went through like a similar thing. We talk a little bit about that. So what was the biggest thing that happened to you when we go back to the days where you kind of went to go and hit your first 10K a month? What's the biggest thing, the price side of it, and what gave you the confidence to value your services that much, and gave you the confidence to go, okay, I'm going to times 4 my services and go and sell it to reach that 10K a month?
Well, I suppose I was thinking, first of all, I'd met other people that had done it. So I'm like, well, if they can charge that, why can't I? And then I started thinking to myself, like, if you weigh up what you spend money on and what you spend money on in terms of booze, in terms of cars, all that kind of stuff, and then you weigh up the price of giving someone their body confidence back, a health, future, confidence to change jobs, energy to actually be present with their family and kids, mobility to be there for their grandkids, and a future and length of life. Well, how could you not? How could you not value this at even a couple of thousand? And like, everything that I do is not around holding someone's hand forever. It's around giving someone the to do it themselves. I genuinely believe I could make it sustainable for a person. And if I believe that them results were going to last for the next 40, 50 years, well, I seen massive justification in what I was charging, because I felt the result, the outcome is worth it. And it's not the coaching that you're selling, it's the benefit, it's the rewards that you're selling.
That's such a nice way of putting it. It's one of the best ways I've ever heard anyone put that. To the sort of thing, the idea of it really is. It's such a cool way of doing it. So when we kind of hit this 10K mark from doing that, was it, like you mentioned, kind of overnight where you started to have the ability to hit that 10K? Did you start getting that regularly, and did you have to make any other changes before to make that grow, or did you kind of hit that amount and hover around there for a while? Like, did something have to change to grow further than that?
So I went from well, I'll give you an example of what not to do. So this is what I did, was I got an external agency in to tell me how to build my business, who weren't in the fitness industry, who had some amazing skills in some respects. They surveyed 1,000 people in the UK. They told me the most people are ever going to pay for weight loss is 30 quid a month. They told me that the most they're ever going to pay is 30 quid a month. That's so amazing. I had that tattooed in my skull for 12 months, which meant I had a huge mental block about charging more. And then eventually, enough people told me to cop the F on. So I went to charge 300 a month, 400 and 500 a month. And it was a 3-tier program with 3-month minimum. And it was just sales, simply sales, because if you improve your sales skills, you're able to get someone to agree with you that the benefit and the value is there. And I still think that sales is one of the most important aspects of this. Like, I'm by far not the best trainer. There's PTs I work with in Pure Gym who are way more knowledgeable than me, but I was just good at selling. I'm good at sales. And like, I did that in Pure Gym. I stood at vending machines with chocolate milk. I approach people. I literally said, I bet you can't guess what this is. And I'm holding with a small little strawberry shot. I'm like, I bet you can't guess what this is. And they're like, oh, go on then. What is it? And it's not a posh protein shake. It was Sainsbury's strawberry milk. And that was bringing me in, like, if I sat by a board, I could make 2 or 3K in a few hours of nice. PT clients one-to-one. So it's just bringing that to the online space, bringing that sales side of it, if that answers your question. Yeah, definitely. Let's just quickly chat about the sales side of it, because obviously a lot of PTs, as you mentioned there, they've got a really good skill set, and they know so much about their trade and what they do. But I'm going to call it PT school because I don't know any other way of calling it. But when you go to kind of PT school, they never really teach you, or
do anything with you about the sales and the business side. Not really, anyway, other than to tell you that make sure you get some insurance and you're registered to reps if you're in the UK. That's about all they tell you to do. So, like, from that side of things, from a sales point of view, what would be your best advice to maybe give new trainers at the moment from the sales point of view? So if they're starting out and they're struggling with sales, what would be your kind of best advice? I think it's a scary prospect for a lot of people to just even talk to people about selling.
I think there's two things. One is you have to go into the call with the belief that that person is privileged to be on the call with you. You have to go in as a leader and never look like you're desperate for a sale, because they are about to change their life. And it's our responsibility to show that to them. But by far, they need you more than you need them. And if you go in with that mindset, you're not going to come across as desperate. You're going to lead the call a lot better. Leadership and certainty in yourself is huge. The second thing that I think is the most that people struggle with, and I see people, and I've heard people, again, tell me how little they think about what I do for various reasons, but this is one example. First of all, you need to have genuine reasons behind what you do. You need to genuinely care about people. If you don't care about people, it's going to come through and it's not going to work. If you make decisions that are based on you not showing empathy for people, then the business isn't going to work. So I have my whiteboard care in red writing. So that's why I'm totally okay sometimes with pushing people out of their comfort zone. And I'm sure you've heard about this in sales calls. You need to help people become aware of the pain that they're in. And a lot of PTs, in my experience, struggle with that. They think it's unethical. And I disagree strongly. I think it's unethical to protect ourselves from having someone else say no to us and have a bad opinion of us. That's a hell of a lot worse. That's actually selfish. Because in the long run, I'm comfortable with increasing someone's awareness of their pain if I know it's going to give them the push they need. And I deep down, I know them signing up with me is the best thing they can do for themselves. So to summarize that, you need to be comfortable to let someone sit in their pain if you're comfortable enough to look at the big picture, because telling them everything's going to be okay and empathize with them and nod and do all these things and tell them it's going to be all right is just putting their head in the sand, and they're going to get worse and they're going to continue to stay stuck. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really nice way of putting it. I think you do hear about it a lot if you do any kind of sales training about how to kind of emphasize their pain. And I think it's not like, I think you hit the nail on the head with one word there, not necessarily emphasize the pain, but empathize with the pain that they're going through as well, to help them realize it and have empathy for where they are. And then you can kind of help them move out of that pain into, not say pleasure, but move into a better place.
Desire,
so they can or whatever. Yeah, definitely.
But the point of it is to give them awareness. The point of them is just increasing awareness. You're not actually putting them through pain. You're just making them actually stand up and face what's really going on, rather than be so busy in their day that they haven't got a clue what they're really feeling. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. So we're kind of going through these sales calls. We go back to kind of where you are, say maybe a year ago or whatever it was, when you kind of hit the 10K mark.
Yeah.
And you're doing these sales calls and stuff like that. You started getting the money coming in. At what point did you think, okay, I'm now going to start to scale this business to start getting to the, multiple 5 figures? So I'm talking about when you start getting to around the 30K a month. Because to me, in my head, I've always had this idea. I think 10K is a great mark to go for. It's a good life. It could be a relatively good lifestyle business, like if you want to have a good lifestyle business. But I think before you can start employing people or start getting people to do other stuff and really look at having a business as a whole, I think you kind of really start looking at around the 30K mark normally. So I don't know if you agree with that or not. I've just found that from what I've seen.
No, I do.
So like, what took you from kind of like the 10K to maybe that 30K mark or whatever it was, to what changes happened there? What made you decide to do that?
Strange answer, but I think being comfortable with debt was the number one. Being comfortable with debt. Babs, my fiance, hates this, but like I know it's all bells and whistles and people say Lamborghinis and all that. Like last year, I was 20K in debt last June and had £3.93 left to my name, and I had to ring Babs to put 20 quid of diesel in the car because I was stuck on the motorway. Like that kind of shit. Like, I mean, you need to be really comfortable with debt. You need to have so much self-belief in what you do that if I invest into this, I know I'm going to make it work. Because if you don't get comfortable with debt, it's not going to work. So I didn't have the luxurious life, and I just kept putting the money into it. Didn't increase the things I did on an everyday basis, live within my means, and just kept pumping more into it to invest in more mentors. I think I've always had a mentor. I can't think of the last time I haven't had a mentor. Like even now, Ash, you're still guiding me in terms of the tech side. Even now, you're helping me. Even now, you're allowing me to maximize PTD. You know, and them small little turns. It's like if you turn a gun of a scope of a sniper rifle, you're like a fraction of a half a millimeter, like over distance, over time, the end result, the difference in what happens is huge. Mm-hmm. So invest in mentors. That was really the big thing, is just be comfortable with debt. Be comfortable with debt. I think, does that answer your question? What was your question? What was it about?
Yeah, the question is like, what was the biggest like kind of shift you had basically to help take you from that kind of 10K to that 30K? And like I said, being comfortable with debt, or I guess like you have to kind of look at reinvesting, don't you? I think I suppose like anything, you invest in yourself a little bit to hit the 10K mark, and then at that point, then you've really got to invest in you and your business to start pushing it a bit further, because in order to do that, generally speaking, you are going to need to actually borrow some money from somewhere and just be comfortable doing that. I think it's a tough one. It's a hard one. I know, like,
got 2 car loans, big overdraft, and 2 credit cards.
That's the one.
Never got a car.
Never got a car. Yeah, it's got to be quite an interesting one, that one. I think that must be hard to go through that sometimes. I think especially when, and I do see this a lot as well with some people I speak to, that when they kind of get to that 10K mark, because all the mentors and stuff talk about it, they don't do your 10K a month, and they say it every advert you see, they talk about this 10K month somewhere. And I always think that when they kind of get to that point, it's you do really have to really reinvest and really think about what you're going to do next, because you can make all that money, you can be doing pretty well, you think, I want to stay like this, I want to stay stagnant, I want this income coming in, and you can either kind of sit back and just go, I'm going to sit here and just stay where I am, which I don't really think works long term personally, but that's just my opinion. But or you can think, right, I'm now going to reinvest, I'm going to go back to where I was uncomfortable beforehand, so I can try and push this to the next level. I think that's a really important step for a lot of people to take when they want to kind of push themselves further forward. Again, that's me personally thinking that.
I agree with you. You don't stay the same. You're either going forward or going backwards. You never stay the same.
No, exactly. I've always think you've got to keep growing. You've got to keep moving. Otherwise, life kind of just takes control of you instead of you taking control of it, doesn't it? It's like a river. We always got told that in kayaking. I used to do a lot of whitewater kayaking. And I always used to use it as a sort of a mythology behind like moving in business, because in a kayak, if you're in white water, if you just sit there in a river and don't do anything, don't try and move, the river's just going to engulf you and it's going to end up on the water, out your boat at times. And the river has control. But as long as you're moving, as long as you're moving around on that boat, you've got control, and you can literally, no matter how powerful that river is, how powerful these evil, bad things around you are, you've got control to navigate through it as long as you're moving. I've always used that as a sort of mentality when it comes to business, just to keep moving and keep in control.
I love it. I love it. No, you're banging on the money.
I say, what was your business like then? So I'm guessing around when it was kind of 10K or less, it was mainly you, and maybe you mentioned you invested in some mentors, you maybe used some companies that you probably wouldn't recommend using now, for like the ads and things like that. But what actually happened? How did your business change? So I'm guessing, if you're charging, say, 400 or 500 pounds, euros, dollars, or whatever a month, and you're doing the sales calls, there's obviously going to be some kind of limitation of how much time you've got. So like, what happened for your business? How did things start to change when you started pushing towards those higher 5-figure numbers?
I started to write down the things that had to be me and the things that didn't. Sales had to be me. Facebook ads had to be me. The training and the nutrition plans didn't. So I had a volunteer for like 8 months as part of her uni course, and then I just employed her. She's been working with me from the very start. I value her a lot. And then I've had another PT who genuinely wanted to just help people rather than build a big business. She wanted to just coach people, loved coaching people. I've had quite a few people actually approach me since then about that, who just genuinely love coaching people. And she's been with me ever since as well. So that managed to offset some of the coaching. But I didn't want to offset it completely, because when I'm selling, on the phone, I genuinely want that person to know that I'm going to be there with them throughout the process. So right now I'm doing some servicing with them by just doing live Q&As regularly, but I'm not doing the adjustments to a meal plan. I'm not doing the adjustments to a program in PTD. I'm not doing the daily feedback all the time. I can outsource as much of that as possible. And a guy asked me yesterday, when do you start hiring? When do you start outsourcing? And I keep saying this, sooner than when you need to. Sooner than when you need to. Find your superpower. And I do feel mine is sales. And I've got loads of weaknesses. So I know I'm not going to try and learn how to do ClickFunnels. I'm not going to learn how to build websites and code, because it will take me probably 5 years to open the browser. You know what I mean? Whereas
I could vouch for that as well. It was.
I was waiting for a comment on that, but I know I can. I know I can sell. So just look at what you're good at. What's your superpower? And I know other people who are tech dudes who are doing really, really well. And what they've done is they've just hired salespeople to come in and do that aspect of it. So you don't have to be good at one thing or the other. Just don't be a dabbler. Double down on what you're good at. Don't work on your weaknesses. Work on your strengths.
I think that's a cool way of doing it. In fact, one of the main things to do in the one-on-one course, the whole first section of that is about that. It's about, we have this workbook now that everyone can use, and it just means that we'll focus on what I call that the mass system, but basically it just means part of that is outsourcing, and it's just looking down about where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and looking at what you can possibly outsource, and just focus on what you're good at. And it's literally one of the first things we talk about inside there, just because exactly the same reason there. You should double down on your strengths, really, and it makes all the difference, I think.
And guys, if you haven't done Ash's 101 or do it, I think you're massively undervaluing yourself, by the way, Ash, and I'll say that again in terms of the value that you give. And also drip Ash dry for every drop of knowledge he has. No, this man has got more knowledge on the tech and PTD side than anyone else. So think of, if you can get what he knows and get that now and start applying it now, how much further ahead you're going to be in the next 6 months. Like, stand on someone's shoulders who's further ahead than you and leverage their knowledge, like I did with poor Ash.
Drain you every week.
Yeah, drain you over. I love that.
It was fun there. No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. There's a couple of questions before we move on to the next bit. There's a couple of questions that come through. Actually, I just want to go through them because I don't want to lose them all out straight away, and they're kind of about where we're at now. So Carla Martinez has asked, after 3 or 4 months, do you keep the same rates, or do you have strategies to keep clients after that so they feel independent and confident? So I think she's talking a bit more about your actual program, what you deliver.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had like a 3-month kind of minimum term. Yeah. Like what happens after that? Like roughly, how does that work in retention and stuff?
So there's 2 angles to that. At the start, when I had the 300, 400, and 500, I had that as a subscription that kept rolling. That was advantageous in the way that some people then just never canceled and kept it rolling. But it was disadvantageous in the fact that if people didn't pay all up front, there are people who would just drop off, block you, and never pay you. And it's not worth your time to chase them. And yes, there's going to be certainly some degree for self-reflection there and what I could have done better as a service. And I've learned a lot along the way by making loads of mistakes. But also you're less secure if they're not paying you up front. So when I had the rolling system, that was less of an issue. Now that I'm getting people to pay up front for the 3-month block, it's more of a challenge. And only recently, in the last 6 weeks, have I managed to build a second product for an extra 3 months to kind of bolt on to the end of it. And I'm now marketing to my current clients. But when you have a second product or a second stage for them to graduate into, the analogy I used to my fiance this morning in the park was like, when I'm doing the sales and have leads coming in, it's like I'm on a battlefield and we're winning and we're all groundsmen, so troops. But when I have a second product and then all of a sudden all my current clients are buying that at the same rate, it's like having cavalry horses run over the back of you, literally plowing through everything. That's how I sum it up. If you can get a means of retention on top of an aggressive means of client acquisition, it grows so fast, and like I'm getting excited thinking about it, even talking to you.
I can hear it in your voice. It sounds so cool. I think it's such a true model, though, isn't it? Like, you see so many different models out there, and it's by far one of my favorite models. And it's the one that, interesting enough, when we're doing any of our done for you stuff, even when we're doing the goals, when people have ideas, I always try and squeeze people down that model a little bit. Even though, like I said, we're not really business mentors or anything like that, I'll always offer advice on what the data's saying, and from having conversations with the likes of yourself about what we've learned over the years. Because we're no different. We just learn as you guys learn. We learn from everybody. And that model of selling like a nice upfront payment for like a fixed amount of time, so like say like a 3-month block or something, and then selling them into something else after, I think it's by far the best way to do it. By far the best way to do it. Like, it's such a huge thing, because I understand what you mean by the feeling of it when people are buying your stuff again and like upgrading into something else, or it just feels great. I think it's a really cool feeling, and I also think it's a little bit easier to do. Like, it's always easier to sell to somebody you've already sold to, because you've already established the value. If you've done a good job, you've made them part of your kind of family, your partnership, or whatever you want to call it, and they already know the value you can offer them. They already know that because they're experiencing it. So the actual process of selling becomes, I think personally, a little bit easier. Again, I don't know what your experience, but from my experience, I found it a little bit easier to sell to people that are already bought into my programs.
100%, because the trust is there. And I can sum that up. Today I made 2 sales. So our price point right now is 2,200. So 4,400 in revenue today. The first person was a brand new client, never spoke to her before. It took 2 hours to get her over the line, and I had to break it up into like a 5-pay. The second sale was someone coming into my second product who knows me and already has seen results. The sales call lasted 20 minutes and they paid up front.
A big difference.
A huge difference. So you can see the difference there, and like it's a no-brainer. Like, they trust you, they believe, and I also, you have to believe in what you do. If you don't give people results, like, it's not going to work. You have to obviously fulfill what you promise.
Yeah, I think fulfillment and actually getting people the results is an important thing. I think I feel quite bad if I was just selling stuff and then not giving people results or getting people results from it. Or I suppose your business will not last very long with it either.
Exactly.
Lots of people don't give you results. Let's go through a couple of these questions before we move on to the next bit. Fellow Irishman. So there's a fellow Irishman here.
What's his name?
Steve Lawton.
Good man, Steve.
It said, what did you do differently in your marketing to go from 0 to 10K per month to above? So what changed in your marketing approach? And did you get this organically as well?
Organically, no. Organically is one of the things that come on to me at the start of this year. Facebook ads, I managed to dial down by giving value in advance. And I did a webinar of me giving like weight loss tips to teach people how to do it, give them value. Like, if you give someone all the secrets, they're never going to believe that you've given them all the secrets. They're always going to believe that you know more than what you've told them, no matter how much you give them. And I have never had someone who's given me and served me and given me lots of value and said, you know what, he's given me all I need. I'm not going to pay him any money now. I'm bought into the person. If you give away loads of free stuff, that's been powerful. Facebook ads, I had a webinar going, giving value in advance. And if you charge enough, in terms of if you value your services enough, that's how you have the means to employ others. If you don't value your services enough, you're going to be a one-man band for a long time, and you're going to struggle. Like, I remember I was doing messaging to leads, like literally 18 hours a day. We're having dinner at my fiance Bab's TV. I was messaging leads. I was the salesman. I was doing the setting in terms of setting calls. I was doing fulfillment. I was doing everything. And that's not a quality of life. You need to have time for yourself. And if you don't employ other people, you won't.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. I think kind of like say outsourcing and employing other people is that big step. And I think taking that kind of risk, as you mentioned there, and being a bit more comfortable about getting into debt maybe to grow your business to that level, I think it's an important risk to take. I think if you want to be able to have that freedom, because as much as you hear about it all the time, like online PTing is not easy. Like it's not. It's a business at the end of the day, and you do have to put the work in. And to me, I think it's harder. Personally, I do think it's harder than in person, like a lot harder. Like
way more overheads. More overheads.
Yeah. You think there's less overheads because you haven't got a building, but realistically, to grow a scalable business, like it doesn't take much until you're paying out the price of rent every month on just bits of software and advertising and things like that. It doesn't take long at all, and then your staff and whatnot not to go and do it.
Well, just on that note, like, I know that people love singing about the glory, like the fact that I'm on 100, 120K a month right now. What people don't tell you is their overheads. My overheads are 50K a month. You know what I mean? So people forget to tell you they tell you the pretty Lamborghini side, but they don't tell you the overheads as well. So I have a minimum number of clients I have to sell to break even. But I feel that if you try and skimp too much on overheads and don't pay your staff right, they're going to leave you. If you don't give enough value and fulfillment, the clients aren't going to stay. And if you just keep working on that top figure, Grant Cardone says this all the time, don't worry about the cost, worry about the revenue, worry about the top number. If you keep making more sales, eventually the overheads will just completely take care of themselves.
Very true. Very true. Like it's weird, isn't it? So your overheads do obviously increase as you grow and do stuff. But if you worry about getting those sales out there, as long as your price point's right, like if you're selling, like if you're paying out 50 grand a month and you're selling it for like $1, that's a lot of sales you have to make.
It's a lot of conversations, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot of conversations to have for 2 hours to go sell someone for $1.
Exactly.
But you've got to get your price points and stuff right for that. But yeah, I think you focus on that top million, just keep those sales coming in. My dad's always said to me, like, my dad's always owned a business. The reason I got into business quite a young age is because my dad's and my family's always owned businesses, and we have a family run business as well that's, relatively successful. And he's always said that, like, cash is king. That's all you got to remember, is cash is king. As long as you keep that cash coming in, it's like you'll generally do okay, and they can worry about the rest after. But it's like your blood flow, isn't it? Basically,
100%. And that's the big problem as well, is if I fall into the trap of being a big softie on a sales call, I'll let someone in for paying me 20 quid a month for the next 3 years. You know what I mean? I'll let them pay me however they can. And the problem with that is if you don't have cash flow, you're still paying all your staff. I'm paying 16, 17K a month in staff costs, So with that in mind, you've got to remember that you need to collect a certain amount, not just in revenue or in sales. You collect a certain amount up front. Otherwise, it breaks.
Yeah, we did. With interesting enough, like recently, I don't know if you've seen our new workbook or not in the 101 course, but we created a workbook inside there, and that workbook has stuff in about outsourcing and whatever we talked about earlier, but it also has a cash flow book inside there. And it's a very old school way of doing it, because obviously you have softwares and things to do this, but I don't think there's anything more powerful than writing down what's coming in, what's going out, just dead simple columns either side. Yeah, and I always used to do that when I first started my business, and it gave me the best understanding of how cash flow really works and the effect of that, to the point where I actually knew before the banks knew, before everyone else knew, what my actual true cash flow was. And it really gives you a clever idea. And it's such a simple method, just write it in, what goes in, what goes out, job done. And very quickly, in a small amount of time, you get a good idea of what's going on. You don't have to do it all the time. Like if you just do that for like a couple of months, normally you get a really good idea of what's happening. And so we started introducing that now into the 101 course, because we noticed a lot of trainers that came over were asking a lot of questions about this and that kind of it. And it really started just to open up their minds a bit more to kind of what truly happens inside a business in terms of how cash works and how cash should flow in and out of a business. So it's such an important thing.
Yeah. And like another example on that, like in terms of being irresponsible, I'm definitely the man up there, the most irresponsible. Like put money aside for tax, okay? Don't get hit with a 30K tax bill like I have done before. Put money aside for tax, okay?
That's awful when that happens.
Oh my God, yeah. You think I learned the first time. But yeah, be more responsible than me is what I'd say.
Yeah, I think definitely for the tax side of it, especially in the UK if it's your first year around, because you end up paying 1.5 what your tax bill is anyway the first year.
Jesus,
yeah, which is ridiculous in every year. So like it's not nice to get hit by a bad tax bill or a good tax bill. I suppose it's good the fact that you've got a tax bill to pay.
It's good complaints,
I suppose, but definitely put your money aside for that one. Okay, cool. I'm just going to do one more question on this before I just move on to the next bit. Daniel was asking, Daniel Gomez, like how often do you post content and stuff on social media? Because I think you mentioned like you do more of the sales and the ads, and I'm guessing like your content and stuff. What kind of, like, how often do you post on social media? What kind of stuff do you do out there?
So again, it's playing to my strengths here. So I used to try and dance around Instagram and Canva and all these pretty things and infographics. And again, as I'm sure you can gather from listening to me now for the last half an hour, I'm not talented at that stuff. I'm not talented at that stuff at all. And like, I've got a VA right now who is a magician on Canva, and she does all that pretty stuff now, which is great and good for her. But it's not my strength. So I used to have like later and like plan my posts and do all that. But I used to dread doing it. And if you dread doing it, you're not going to do it consistently. No. So now, in a really, really magically disorganized way, I don't have a set social media thing at all. Whenever I get a gap between sales calls, I jump on a live video in a nurture tank of all of my current prospects. And I literally just pump them full of value. Live Q&As, be really personable, touch on phrases and pain points that you know they're going through. And the people to listen to in terms of how you produce your marketing content is not any mentor. It's actually your clients, your leads. It's definitely. Like my sales calls give me the fuel I need to market. The terminology I use, one of the biggest steps I made this year was I looked at all of my Google reviews. I looked at all of the terminology being used in them. And I use that terminology to sell what I do. I stopped using the word customized and bespoke and tailored, because bespoke sounds posh and us trainers love using it. Clients and leads don't use bespoke, they use personalized. So now I say personalized. So listen to what your clients are telling you, not to what everybody else is.
That's such a huge thing. I mean, like, I can't think how often I say to people, like, really understanding their clients and just looking at what their clients do, what they say, like that research side of it's so important, especially for content creation, because at the end of the day, like we see it quite a lot with trainers that will put out what they think needs to go out to a client without really doing any research into who their actual clients are and what they, how they sound, how they talk, what they do, what they're interested in, where their pain points are. I think until you actually do that kind of research and really dig into it, like you're just kind of like, it's almost like just throwing stuff into the air and just hoping something sticks. Yeah. You might get lucky, you might not, but it's such an important thing, I think.
Using terminology to kind of impress the PTs is not going to get you clients. Like if they don't understand what you're saying, if they're confused, they're not going to buy from you.
Yeah,
it has to be simple.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it's egos. I think sometimes, personally, I think there's a lot of time I want to show off.
100%.
Yeah, I did the same. When I first started doing it as a PT, I sat down. I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go online, and as much as I don't want to admit this, I wrote out literally a massive kind of like, I think it was like 89-page long ebook with like loads of cool stuff and training on it and the science behind it all and nutrition and things like that. And Sarah came up and told me, she's like, what you've been doing? She's like, literally, like Sarah, my wife, Sarah, she was like my ideal client who I was targeting. She's like, I won't get that. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I just care about getting the result that I want. And it was interesting. I was just like, literally, my wife taught me how to live.
Fair play to her for being honest with you. That's brilliant. Yeah, 100%.
Just came up and told me. So I think everyone kind of falls. Well, I do anyway, but I see a lot of people fall into that trap, and it's most of the time, if you understand your clients who just don't care, there's probably odd clients that might do, but it's a different market then, isn't it? Like, it's for the most part, like, you need to keep it, talk on your client's level at the end of the day.
100%.
One more question on that one. In fact, yeah, Frank's asking about 7 figures. Is that through automation or building a team of coaches? We can ask the question. I know what the answer is, but I'll ask you. So to get to where you are now, so we've got this kind of like roughly around the 30 odd K a month, and then we're now starting to move up. And like you mentioned there, you're starting to push now that the 7-figure months. So how's your business look now? Like you mentioned about outsourcing, you mentioned that you don't do much of the coaching and stuff yourself now. So I'm guessing you obviously got a team of coaches. You mentioned you had one coach. I'm guessing you've got a team of coaches now. How's your business started to change now?
So I've got 4 in sales, 3 in fulfillment, and 2 VAs that kind of move back and forth between sales and fulfillment. Okay, so I've got 2 PTs and 1 girl who's in a sports science degree. In terms of my setters, these are people who book calls for me. They handle the leads. We've got about 200 leads coming in every day. They set calls with them leads. They turn them leads into phone calls. for me and my other closer, who's my other sales guy. Our diaries get filled automatically for us. And then we grade the calls and we speak to the 80% of the people who we think are more likely to invest. People who are not ready to invest, whether they genuinely state they're not ready to invest, then get pumped into our free group, get given freebies, always end every single conversation with positivity. You're in here to help people. So right now, in terms of automation, most of what I do is definitely built around Facebook ads. I've also got a website with SEO. I've invested into a big marketing company right now to launch YouTube ads as well, to pump people towards my website. I've got a mailing list running in the background as well. So here's something that's a nice shock for you. So 2 months ago, I got kicked out of Facebook. 98% of my business revolved around Facebook. And 2 months ago, with 10 staff, kicked out of Facebook. Great. 10 days off Facebook with my overheads the way they were. So I had to basically verify my account on Facebook. And of course, being the bright spark that I am, I never changed my phone number to verify it since I lived in Canada. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, that number has now become obsolete. So what does Alex have to do? And drag his fiance with them. I booked an immediate flight to Toronto. We went to Toronto for an hour and a half. Got a brand new phone number, bought a phone, binned the phone, fixed Facebook, and flew home an hour and a half later. So you're going to have some colossal screw ups. So just try not to make the mistakes I have made, is all I'd say. But to answer your question,
don't register your Facebook account in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely automation. The biggest thing people, I think, not 30K a month is sales. 30K and above is about opportunity volume. How many leads you can have coming every day.
Yeah, I think that'll make a big difference, because I guess once you kind of get into that first 30K a month, you kind of already know, don't you? Like you know who's really going to sign up and who's not, and you kind of know once you get people into that funnel, if you like. I don't really like the word funnel, but you get them into that kind of funnel. You almost know by if they're going to convert or not, because you know your systems to convert them. If the right sort of leads, they're going to work almost every time. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached that 30K amount. Like I kind of know that with our stuff. I know, generally speaking, when someone hits our website or books in for a call with us to have a chat about our gold stuff, I can generally tell who's going to sign up and who's not going to sign up by within about 2 or 3 seconds of looking at the data and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a cool way of doing it. I think it's really important. Let's have a look. Frank says that's Jedi level. He's asking what the price points of the products are. I think we mentioned a bit earlier on.
2,200. 2,200. Yeah, for 3 months.
The 2,200 for the Like originally they started off, it was like 300, 400, 500 per month, wasn't it? I think
the business could work at 300 a month for a 3-month minimum. So a £1,000 price point per client made the business work. And the reason why you need to have a higher price point, in my opinion, is because you're not going to convert every single person you speak to. So if you've got 10 leads coming into the funnel, 4 of them are going to get on the phone. 2 of them are going to buy. So if you need 10 leads, lead to 2 sales, and them 2 sales are only giving you 200 quid as opposed to 2K, you need a hell of a lot more leads to make the machine move, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Okay, I'm looking for this. Yeah, Frank says, thank you, very helpful. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Jed's saying pure gold, which is always nice. So let's just quickly chat about your life a little bit at the moment then, because you mentioned there how, like, you mentioned your overheads and obviously what you're making per month as well, and how that all scales and stuff. And you mentioned how you're not really training people now, you're focused on sales and sort of lead gen, that kind of thing. So what's your life like now compared to what it was, say, when you first started out as an online trainer? Like, as a direct comparison, what is the main difference now, you think, between like where you were when you first started to how you are now in terms of what you do in everyday life?
Got you. I suppose when I worked as a PT 1-to-1, I was doing 90 hours a week, and I did 3 months without a day off. So that was like my 5:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night. And I remember Babs trying to persuade me to finish work at 8 p.m. on a Friday night rather than 9:30 1 day a week. And we fought over it. Like, it was like I worked so many hours, but then I've cut them down. And now I work from, say, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I only do a 12-hour day now. And I do train in the middle of that. So it's really only a 10-hour day. But it's because I love it. It's not because I have to do it. It's because I love it. In terms of how my life has changed, the big thing, I suppose, is the fact that me and my fiance, we travel 4 weeks a year to different continents around the world. We keep traveling. It can fund all of that. We can work from anywhere in the world. Right now, we're back in Ireland, for example. We're not locked in. We're not asking for annual leave. We're not asking for permission to get off time in the gym. So that freedom we've had for a year. Financially, to be honest with you, I'm still living within my means. Like, I have no desire in buying posh cars and that. I'm just consistently trying to make this, grow. I get a kick off seeing the growth of the team, the growth of the people that we're helping, the reviews that we're getting all the time, the social proof, the before and afters. That's huge. Me and Babs are looking at buying a house now, which is something that, I bought a flat last year with what we earned. So we pumped it all into property, but the house that we're about to buy now, touch wood, we get it, is certainly something that I could only have ever dreamed about a year ago. So we're very fortunate there. And I'll send you a picture. I want this.
Yeah, you got to send me that picture if I want to see the house. Once you put it out there, it's got to happen. You have to make it happen.
I've committed to it now. Yeah, if I don't get this now and someone else bids that, you're raging.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It'll not happen. You'll definitely get that house. Definitely going to get it. Cool. Okay. What was I going to talk about now? So we've obviously talked a lot about kind of what you do and kind of your process and how you've gone for that over the past 11 months. It obviously sounds like a bit of a. What I like about it is it's a relatively short period of time. Like, to have less than a year to go from where you was to where you are now is pretty incredible. But I think a lot of that's a testament to you and how you approach things. And interesting enough, when you first started speaking, I wrote one little thing down at the top, and I've actually realised that everything that you've actually talked about is actually, I think this is how you approach everything. And you said small goal setting. You said you want to do this. Like you said that you want to get 9 emails a day. But it seems like all these little things there, you're looking at the detail about what you've got to hit, like your leads coming in, you've got to hit X amount of leads coming in to get this amount of revenue. Is that kind of how you've done things? Like, just set these kind of goals each time? Did you do that? Or was it more just kind of...
It's 100. It's so simple. Like, hitting 100K, I just needed my setters to fill me and my sales guy's diary. So there was 9 calls happening every day. If 9 calls happened a day at our closing rate, if we both performed really badly, so when you have something as simple as, if I can get that, then this is going to happen. Then, like, I knew if I got 9 emails in Pure Gym, I was going to convert at least 2 clients, and I wasn't going to give them my business card. I was going to get their information, whether they liked it or not. That way, it's about a numbers game, economics, and it's actually, it's weirdly enjoyable as well. It's kind of like you really, really enjoy seeing that the numbers side in terms of things improving and finding the weak links in something. Like, for example, rather than me focusing on trying to pump more money into Facebook ads, I focused on working with my setters to improve our conversation sequences to make sure the leads we were getting were actually turning into calls, thus turning into sales. So you kind of stop to tighten the nuts rather than just consistently kind of pump more money into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I do see that quite a lot. To be honest with you, a lot of people we'll throw more money at it because that will obviously fix the problem, which normally doesn't happen. And also, like, I see a lot of the time, I see a lot of people saying, right, instead of tightening the nuts up, we'll take everything to pieces and rebuild it from scratch again. I see that quite a lot, more than just looking at some of the detail and just thinking, actually, because when you say it like that, it is quite simple. Like, by looking at that detail now and setting these small goals, that you've just got to get 9 of these calls booked in that you're going to convert on, and then you're going to hit your targets, which I think is an incredible way to look at things. I think it's such an important way to look at business in general anyway. Like, if you've got these targets to hit, it's going to make it so much easier because you know what you've got to work on and what you don't need to work on. Otherwise, it's a bit like, finger in the wind, trying to hope for the best that these things are going to
100%. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think I've kept you for like an hour now, which I appreciate you obviously if it too, maybe quite busy, and you don't want to be talking to people for about an hour or so. So before we go, can I, for anyone listening here, what would be your kind of top, and I ask this to most people I speak to, what would be your kind of top maybe 3 tips for any trainers in here now who really want to look at, maybe looking at this and thinking, they want to share in the success that you've had over these past 11 months, and how can they get to maybe 6 figures or 7 figures a year? Like, what would be your top 3 tips for them to do that right now, first kind of starting out or new to this?
Number 1, I think, is definitely self-belief. I mean, you have to genuinely believe in what you do. And I struggle with imposter syndrome for probably now I still struggle with it. So it's totally normal. If you don't have it, I think you're lying. I think self-belief, consistently have self-belief and believe in what you can do, believe in yourself. Because if you have number one, which is self-belief, you'll be okay with number two, which is debt. So be okay with debt, believe in debt. Don't be stupid, but just leverage other people's money to get you to where you want to be faster. And the third one is, and I think this is where people fall down so much, like, I think I've done well because I'm consistently okay with looking really stupid. I'm consistently okay with being a student and with going to other people and asking for help. Get mentors, invest in yourself. They can't take this away from you. When you learn this information and who you become as a person, that never goes away. Self-development doesn't go away. You don't lose it. A car rots, but you don't. So consistently invest in mentors with yourself. And if you do those three things, I think, well, you're there, you know.
Nice. I love that one. I like that IST doesn't go away. Like cars.
I mean, really cool. It's the truth. And also, can I just say, I want this opportunity to say that out of everybody who deserves, and I wanted to say one thing that you need, but I couldn't say it because it's inappropriate. You need a Babs. You need a fiance like I have, but I'm not sure if all of you can get one of them. Not only is she a cracking lawyer, but she keeps me out of jail. She just listens to me every day in terms of my ability to, well, kind of vent and worry and have concerns, and to have someone close to you and just hopefully they'll be a good listener. Babs was.
I could definitely attest to that. Like, Sarah's literally my rock when it comes to business. Literally my rock for it. Like, it's just always there, always there to throw ideas off, always there to take my shit and crap if she needs to. She just literally puts up when, she's my best mentor, my best advisor, and also the best person I can cuddle when I need a little emotional support as well. Yeah, definitely having someone by your side definitely makes life a little bit easier. Definitely does. Definitely right up. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know I've kept you for over an hour now, so apologies for that. But it's been
a
awesome
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure going through it all. And I'm sure many people probably have questions as well, so they may tag you in. I'm guessing on the comments and stuff below. But if you do, like, obviously, if Alex can't answer, I'll try and answer where I can or help wherever I can on the comments and stuff in there. But yeah, I really appreciate you spending the time to come and chat to us today and just sharing your experience with us all. So thank you very much for that.
Not at all. And just on that note, like, I'm pretty bad with the keyboard thing, but if someone actually does have a question, just drop me a Facebook message and I'll try and give you a voice note just to tip you in the right direction. I won't be able to obviously be with you from now on, but if you have any particular burning question, just fire it over and I will do what I can to help.
Awesome. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for your time, mate. And I'll and thanks everyone else for listening. We've had really high numbers through this call, which has been ace. If you're watching the replay as well, it's always going to be available inside the group. And I'll also drop it on my blog as well if you want to catch it back at a later date. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And thanks again, Alex. And we'll speak to you all soon. See you later.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Cheers.